these agency owners, they're just crushing it right now, man, with the automations and everything that they're doing. Like, for example, if you go to our Google reviews, the agency we work with, they've just set up a simple chatbot there where an automatic reply comes out. Before it was just a nuisance for me, like every time, like, hey, why are we falling behind on replying to these reviews? And now it just gets done automatically for us. So yeah, it's and we're just getting started with this stuff, man. Like, I'm just like so excited about this, right? Like, imagining a new employee coming into your into your business, and that employee has a new AI assistant from day one. Learning with that assistant and building out with them and keeping them on track. So if it's a sales development rep, then it's got the perfect benchmarks already set up. And if that employee is falling behind, then the AI is there on a daily basis. Hey, you didn't make enough phone calls today. This phone call did not go the way it should have gone, because it's listening to those calls now. It's giving them a daily summary of those calls. That stuff is all possible with today's technology. It's out there already. You just gotta build out those chatbots and sit back and let your people do the work.
All right, guys, welcome back to a brand new episode of the All Innovation Podcast. Once again, is your guy, Keenan Hart here, joined by my trusty co-pilot in this journey together, Dante McLean. Now, we have an amazing leader and founder here with us today. He is the co-founder and CEO of RepStack. They are building global teams for marketing agencies and SaaS. He is an author, a fellow podcast host, a traveler, and a fitness enthusiast. Azhar, welcome to the show, man.
Thanks for having me, Keenan and Dante. It's a pleasure. You guys put a lot of time and effort into these podcasts. I'm really excited to be here talking to you guys from Niagara Falls on the Canadian side. And you guys are in the warm Vegas area, I hear.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's awesome. Really looking forward to our chat. It's going to be exciting.
Yeah, man, we're really excited to dive into your story. Sorry, Dante, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I just want to kind of level set what we're going to be covering today before Dante dives in. The one thing that we're going to talk about for the audience is kind of the global vision and impact that you're building at RepStack. We're going to talk about leadership vision, because that was something we connected on in our previous conversation. We're going to talk about the future of work and how we can leverage remote teams. We're going to talk about artificial intelligence. We're going to talk about innovation in media, because we were just kind of riffing before we even got started about that. And then we're going to talk about the role of continuous learning, which is something that we were incredibly inspired about when we had our previous conversation. And so, Dante, why don't you kind of get us started, man?
Yeah, Azhar, super excited to have you here. As we kind of take off in this process, I wanted to start with something that you're most excited about as far as like a takeaway. So if someone's just scrambling, double clicked on this conversation, what are you hoping that they most take away from the talk we're about to have?
I think I want the people to get excited about the future of work. I think we've run agencies, and a few of us have been working from our remotely from way before it was even fashionable. Post COVID, I guess. But so we're already used to it, right? And we already saw this wave coming, and it was just a matter of time. So I don't think like people should worry about what's going to happen to my job, and how's the world changing. It's been changing. It's changing really rapidly now. But the fact of the matter is, human beings still need to get from point A to point B. The car might be driving itself, but the human beings are still going to be there. The people building that car, designing that car, we're still going to need that. AI is just here to help us out, right? So I think that's where the world's had. I feel it's going to be like a more open world than we've ever seen before. People are going to come in, leverage the shortcomings. They, like, for example, not being present physically in the US. Now that can just go down, because you can train your AI to talk to a client in Chicago, and it can give you pointers before you go in. Hey, you got to make sure you talk about the Cubs game that happened yesterday, right? So your personal assistant can be helping you out, having those better communications and all of that stuff, and it's going to be a lot easier for global team members to integrate into remote teams. And I'm just really, really excited about that, because the stuff that we're seeing right now is just incredible. And I want to share all of that stuff with you guys.
I think it's an amazing opportunity for us to kind of talk about how the landscape of not only society, but work has changed as well. When we came into a world before the internet, before social media, it seemed like we lived in very much a local community. But now, with the extension of virtual platforms, connectivity tools like Slack and Zoom and everything else, we can leverage the talent from a global community. And this is exactly kind of where RepStack sits. So before we kind of dive into what you guys are doing today, I think it's really important for you to lay the foundation of where we came from. So let's listen to a little bit about your origin story and kind of how we got started on this road to leveraging talent from across the world to be able to execute on things like building out marketing agencies and SaaS and everything else that you're doing, man.
Yeah, so I've been a career marketer for a really long time. I've been building websites since 2008. I've been outsourcing work based out of Calgary, Canada. And, I always wanted to go into the, like, right from going to school at Minnesota State, at Fargo, actually, out of all places. I already knew that I'm going to do something with the, marketing agency world. It just took me a really long time to get started because I couldn't sell anything even if my life depended on it, right? Like I remember, like you see, it actually happened. Me and my buddies, we finally got a meeting. It was like really early. I was still going to school at this time, and we go out and rent these suits from, I don't know, Ross or something like that, and it did not go as planned. I did enjoy, wearing a tie and feeling like Mackenzie consultant playing pool afterwards after we bombed that freaking meeting with the prospect, tried to build a website, and the next day we had to go and return that stuff. But that was really early on. But I finally realized that, like I gotta, I'm not natural at this, but I can, like, if I put in the work, I can learn. So I took a job in Future Shop, which was basically owned by Best Buy in Canada. And it took over that particular outfit when they came to Canada, Best Buy. And but it was all commission electronic retailer, right? Retailers. So I kind of got my chops. It was a really hardcore commission based work environment, and I started learning sales. I was there 7 years. 2 years I led a team in the computer department and a few other departments and stuff. And that was the time, like, I finally realized that, okay, now I'm ready. And then I also had a co-founder for my first agency launch. Within the for like we did back in 2008, we faxed out a whole bunch of businesses. If you guys don't remember, you just hook up your computer. I think it was a dial-up. I don't know what it was, but I somehow got my hands on a fax list, and I just started using my Windows computer to just fax out. And I got my first. I was selling on $300 or $500 a pop, and I still have one of those clients, Budget Storage in Calgary. I manage their website and hosting and all of that stuff. So my first client. So that's where how it started out, 2008, and then slowly I went from being part time at my job to being a full time marketing agency owner in 2011, and I haven't looked back since. I've been working for myself. I haven't had to commute unless I set my own meetings with my clients and all of that stuff. And it was a good journey. It was a great journey. And then I just went in there, and I didn't know that this is gonna be like now I'm just starting to put in my 10,000 hours, so to speak, right? So that was a long journey. So I just went in there. I can't say that it was like there was really some tough times, especially when I had partners. I had two different partners. The first one, uh, well, I had to buy him out for, I think, $10,000 or something like that. I brought in the second one, gave him the other one's share, and then when the second one left in 2017, I bought him out for 26 grand. And after 2017, I was like on my own, really running my agency, and that was probably the most comfortable at that point because I didn't need any training fees, I didn't need any partners at that time. And I didn't do a lot of revenue. Like, I think 300K was the highest I did in any year. But half of that was, I was just, that was my spending money, and that was 150K, pretty good income for me, for a kid who didn't know, who really bombed out of that first marketing website meeting that I tried to take back in Washington D.C. with my buddies. But yeah, so the agency world, but it was a grind, I'll be honest, right? It wasn't easy. There was things that I wasn't doing. And if I have to pinpoint one thing that I really wasn't doing, I think it was learning. Like, I wasn't, I was going through the grind. I was doing It's like, I give my example to my brother that I was fairly disciplined. I was able to pay the bills. I was able to bring in 20 to 30 grand every single month, take care of myself and my family and all of that stuff. But it wasn't getting to that point where, like, I wanted to build a big impactful business, and it just wasn't happening. So it was kind of like, I was going to the gym, I was really disciplined, but everything else was just kind of average and mediocre for me. And I was just not able to get through that point until I changed one thing. I think, like, on top of everything, with of my work ethic and putting in the time and all of that stuff, around 2017 and 2018, I started learning. I started when, like, I was never like a A, B, barely C, and D student mainly, right? But this time around, started replacing my music when I was working out with podcasts. I started listening to a lot of audiobooks. I think I got my Audible membership back in 2018. Went from one book to two books a month. I think I have their biggest package right now. And yeah, just I just became this relentless learner, I guess. I think that was probably the turning point. And that too, took a lot of, like, hours. So, like, I'm working out for a half an hour, 45 minutes I'm running, then I'm going on a walk around, maybe an hour and a half at the gym, and then I'm on a bike ride by myself. Like, I'm spending like 2 to 3 hours a day now, like, constantly, from 2018, 2019, 2020, and 2020. Like, all these hours now start to aggregate, and boom, I have my first breakthrough, and I sign up for a coach, Josh Nelson, at the Seven Figure Agency. And as soon as I invest in that program, I get all these ideas, and the rest is history. From there, like, like, I already knew that I'm either going to launch a niche based agency, and do I already had clients who were doing really good for like almost decades, and getting great results. I could really knock it out of the park. And then RepStack was one of the options on the table. So everything else kind of fell on the wayside, and the rest is history, so to speak, right now. So just it just took off after that. So like, towards the end of 2020, and we haven't looked back. Like, before, it used to be like, I'm running after the clients, trying to get that last deal in before the end of the month. Now we usually have a wait list of clients, so that's never been an issue. And I've never seen, like, that I guess, those good times where, like, I used to imagine of times like that. And now I get to see that hey, this is a way of operating a business as well, where you have like a very high demand, and you're just trying to fulfill the demand that you have. So it's a great feeling. But I had to spend like 12, 13 years into that fast and famine type environment before I could get to this point. But that's like the long version of what I've been up to. And then RepStack's really, really exciting, and we can get into that. But that's kind of the past, how I built up to RepStack.
The classic story of the overnight success.
I
You know what I'm
know. I
saying?
actually say the same thing. The Rocky cut scene, right, where you're just grinding, running up the stairs. I love so much about what you shared with your story, and what resonated most was like your beginning sales journey, right? And you're like, feel like you have to wear the fancy suit or whatever. I remember one of my first sales calls ever. high ticket. It was $1,000 a month that I was trying to sell to a gym membership or to a gym owner in 2015. So this is, before owning an agency was cool. And I was so freaking nervous that it was a phone call that I would have to put her on mute so that I could like breathe really heavy just to get like the sigh out. And I dropped the price. I'm like, hey, it's 3 grand. And then I put her back on mute, and like she waited for a second. I was like, I don't think I'm supposed to speak. Whoever speaks first loses. And she's like, okay, let's do it. And so I think as entrepreneurs, we have those similar journeys, right? Where we have to build the skills, we have to build the talent. I'm curious for anyone who's like a younger entrepreneur listening, what are some of those initial skills and talents that they should work on first to kind of smooth out their journey so that maybe they don't have to suffer as long as that we did?
Yeah, for me, I'm kind of like an introvert person. It takes a lot of energy for me to interact with people and stuff. And I think learning sales was the biggest thing that helped me, because a lot of us, we shy away from being sales. Sales is something I feel that sales is the fastest way to the top right now, and no matter what organization it is. So if you can sell, and and long behold, when I got into sales, I realized that it's not as difficult as people think out to be. It's really, it's just like anything else, is reps and sets, right? And you just have to get through a certain number of no's to get to a yes. You just need to know. So like that no is has a dollar value on it. As soon as you realize that, it becomes really really simple. But yeah, just that practice and learning, and communicating with people, and being able to convince them so that they can spend $10,000 with you, or 3 grand a month with you. I think that's a great feeling, like if you can get to that point. And I love that. I love the fact that I don't have to do any of the sales anymore for the last 3 years. But my team, who's sitting in Pakistan, is, our average client contract is around 40 grand right now for the year. And these ladies, we have an all female sales team. These ladies are closing these deals like on a daily basis, sitting in Islamabad and Karachi in Pakistan, and they're closing $40,000 contracts. I could not have imagined doing myself until RepStack happened, right? So I'm really super proud of all of that stuff too. But yeah, sales. I think like if there's one thing for young people, I would say that get experience in sales. Even if it's selling cars, whatever it is. I was selling computers and big screen TVs, man. I was slapping that warranty on them, like. So yeah, yeah. Sales is best. I love it.
We hear the commonality with so many people who are hyper successful, often started banging doors, right? Doing solar sales, pest control stuff. You hear that commonality, or at least I do in that world of sales, because that's an ability to transfer, right? Trust into what you've been able to build, and the conviction that you have to be able to provide a service and be able to create value long term, which I feel like is just so amazing. And like I would completely agree, the foundation of it all, right, is really kind of sales. I want to dive a little bit deeper into your team in Pakistan. So, one of the things that you guys do amazing is you're creating opportunity, but also so much impact back in Pakistan. And I want to talk about why you're leveraging talent from specifically that part of the world. And let's double click a little bit deeper into your female team as well, because I believe you guys are about 60% female as well, right?
Yeah, but we're hover between 55 and 60% females. Majority of our leadership team is also females, and they're all homegrown. And yeah, like we're from Pakistan. Me and my brother, two of us, we were like 19 years old when we came over to study to the US, and we went to the same school. So we already had proof of concept, because my brother, who's based out of Wilmington, Delaware, he built out a great career working at JP Morgan Chase at executive level, where when he finally came back full time into RepStack. So he was able to do that, build that career out. I was able to build an agency and a life for myself, pretty comfortable one. going to same basic education. And some of these people have, like, like we didn't have those. These guys, some of the, like, for example, our director of customer relationship, she has, I think she's going for her second MBA right now. So there's people who have, like, MBAs are just common in the room that I hang around with in my leadership teams. The experience these people have, the schools they've been to, the GPAs that these guys have scored, right? Like, I couldn't even think about that. So, so yeah, the obvious reason that we wanted to do this back home was because it was home. We already knew that, hey, if we can go to those schools and build a lifestyle that we built over here based on the same basic education, then we know that there's more talented people than us. The only difference is that they're there and we're here. So how can we kind of eliminate that, right? The physical presence. And RepStack was the best thing. We didn't kind of start out building like that, but behind the scenes, it was that when my brother Athar kind of came up with the idea that he wanted to do something in labor arbitrage, it was just, like, we want to do something, but then, it turned out into RepStack, which, it kind of came into marketing focus because that's where my expertise were, and I was working in for the last 15 years. But yeah, it was a no-brainer for us back home. And then it turned out when we started hiring people that the females of our country were really hungry for this because it's a creative field. A lot of females go to school for marketing and stuff like that, and they were just not able to utilize that because, just the jobs over there, and then the commute, and then Pakistan is a conservative society, so, like, females going out and working and all of that stuff, it's still not, it's getting there, but it's not still like fully mainstream right now. But if you can work from your home completely remotely, then, like, when we first started out, we thought that we were going to go eventually into an office because we were just at the tail end of COVID. But then when we started seeing the results from just, working remotely, thought that, hey, we don't need to have an office. I think we're just about to get an office back home, like after 4 year, almost fourth year of our inception. So we're just trying to just put up a permanent office at a co-working location that we really love, to support the co-working place. Not that we need it, or somebody comes and, they can just come and use that. But yeah, that remote thing also worked out for us. But yeah, obvious reason why we wanted to go for Pakistan was because we're from there. We wanted to have that connection back home. It's given us a connection, definitely. Like, we get to travel a lot more than it's really expensive going home. Like, if you were just trying to do your vacation thing every 2 years, we get to go there usually, sometimes twice a year, sometimes more than that. And our parents are still there, our extended families are still there. And now we have 250 other family members that now, we have this, our flagship event coming up, Rep Camp, we call it. So we bring in all of our employees under one roof for, fun activity day. Like, we do a whole bunch of stuff with them. We have a comedian coming up at this rep camp, a very popular guy back home. So yeah, it's gonna be fun. We're gonna announce our big events, big things coming up. So it's just like, how we envisioned. I don't know. This is even better than we envisioned. Like, we could not have envisioned this, but it's coming along really, really nice. Yeah, and this remote first thing, working back home, it's just like it's driving our fuel. It's the fuel for us every day. We get out of bed because we love what we're doing for the people we're doing it for.
And these team members are an integrated part of the organizations that you're placing them in. I saw a post that you shared the other day on LinkedIn about a 5-star review of somebody said, hey, you know what? I engage with RepStack. I have a team who's on my marketing team, and he's literally become my right-hand man. And so it's not like you guys aren't bringing table or talent to the table that isn't having an influence, but you guys are having a huge impact as well here in business. But one of the things I was really inspired with by Azhar in our last conversation, you said my team is making US dollars. You gave an example of like $5,000-6,000 a month on payroll. When you take that back to Pakistan, you're making really good money. So you're literally creating opportunities that are changing lives as well. Do you really kind of have enough time to think about the gratitude that all these people must feel for you? Seriously, man. Do you think
Yeah,
about that?
throughout the day, I have those random, like when I'm finishing my day and I'm hanging out with my wife, and I get to talk about an employee or something, a situation, and I just be like grateful, and she's the one who kind of drives me. She's like, hey, just anchor down, buddy. Here, so yeah, we definitely have to do that, and I trust me, I get like multiple times in a day where I'm like really, really thankful for the opportunity we're getting to build something, and we feel we're just at the cusp of the impact we're going to be creating. Like our tagline is "Agency Future Leaders," and my our vision was always that our people should be able to go in there, and they should be able to, the founder of the agency, they should be able to retire them and run the agency for them as the CEOs of these agencies and all of that stuff. And we're starting to see a lot of that happen. For example, our employee number one, who works with Josh Nelson at a seven-figure agency. He's a really well-known coach in the marketing agency world, and he was I was lucky enough to have him as a client number one and joint venture partner on day one and all of that stuff. So a lot of that is right place at the right time as well. But he's still there working with Josh 4 years later, our employee number one. He went on from becoming from being an appointment setter to a closer. First, he was closing, their lower tier package. Now he's closing their top tier package as well. And it's just a great feeling to see that person's journey over the last 4 years, how his life has changed back home, and what we set out to do is happening. We have another client, so Josh Nelson is Inc. 5000 this year. So another one of our clients is Andrew Cassett, Pipeline Pro, who is another Inc. 5000 2024 client. And his right hand man, Amr Zaman, he was in Miami training his clients, right, like face to face. They had a mastermind, and Andrew invited Amr to come over, and like these guys have a ton of people, like they like him and two other people under him. They manage like 10,000 sub accounts on Go High Level. If you know Go High Level,
Yeah.
that's a lot. So this guy, like I don't know if you guys know about GHL certified admin track. They recently launched that, and it's very difficult to do that. This guy did it in record time, like 29 minutes. They allow an hour to do that, and usually you have to go through multiple attempts to clear it. Because he was just, his 10,000 hours were like done long time ago, probably. But that's the level of people, that's the impact that we're creating right now, that people are, like people are coming here, they're working directly with the clients, they're making money, they're moving up really, really fast, and they're really building out careers. um, and I think that's the difference that I see right now, and that's what I feel that RepStack is going to be able to kind of fill the gap for. The demand in the market is of, if you want to grow your business, you're always looking for those long term mission driven employees. Like you cannot do it with, like I tried doing my agency for 12 years straight with just contractors and me, myself, and I could not pass through that, break through that $30,000 a month revenue wall, until I started hiring and building my own teams and things like that. And I see that around me, like people, like there's maybe one or two agencies over the last 5 years, 4 years that I've seen who've been able to get to like just because they were amazing people, the founders. They did all the work, but they were like freaking burnt out to the max, doing 60, 70 grand a month by themselves. And then eventually they had to, what they had to do was they finally had to bring people in, like hire an executive assistant, hire other team members in strategic areas inside, and start doing fulfillment themselves, or outsourcing a lot of that stuff, not to a third party vendor but somebody inside your team. So you're gonna have to build those teams, and I think that's the key differentiator right now. If you think of hiring long-term, mission-driven people, you're gonna have to think about someone local, someone within your city, within your state, and so on and on. Uh, but The world's opened up a lot more, especially after post-COVID, and same type of employee, especially aided with AI now. You can hire anywhere in the world, and that gives you speed, agility, and you can build out great companies like we're doing right now, like high level is 1,100 people. 60% approximately of their workforce is based outside of the US, and they're a remote first company, right? So a lot of people are doing it, and that's the way of the future, I feel.
I'd love to segue into speaking about AI. Um, I'm sure because you work with so many agencies, and part of being in marketing and dealing with agencies is they're like on the front end of the adoption curve. Something new comes out, everyone's trying it. Remember when AI and chatbots came out, marketing agencies in particular were all over that. I'm curious with your peer view into so many different agencies. What are some of the things within AI that are getting people most excited?
Yeah, I think like in the marketing world, especially, people are just getting done a lot more right now. I think, a job that would have taken me a week. Here, I'll give you guys an example. This is a fun one. I think you guys are going to like this. So, we recently decided that we're going to cover our employees' parents under our health insurance plans as well. So it's going to be one of our announcements that we're going to be making. So we're going to break that on your show first in September. So one of the things that, and I learned this from Joey Coleman, Never Lose an Employee Again. His book, like his writing is phenomenal. By the way, I would highly recommend if you're running an agency, check out his Never Lose a Customer Again. And then if you have a bit of a team that you're building out, then Never Lose an Employee Again for sure as well. For us, it makes sense because we're so many people. So one of the things that he quotes one company doing is that this company sends out letters to the parents thanking them that, hey, you guys did a phenomenal job in raising this person, and this is an amazing employee for us. These guys crush it every single day, and thank you very much. So I just took it a step further. I told the AI that, hey, Joey Coleman's book, this is the framework, and I'm trying to write a letter, and can you write it out for me? So he started writing out. So he trained himself on the Joey Coleman stuff, the specific part that I wanted to. Now imagine my even telling this to my assistant, right? Telling her to, can you do the research? Can you read that first? And can you come up with the first draft of the letter? That would have been like a week's time, right? She's going to come back to me next week to do all of that once she's read that chapter and all of that stuff. And I'm doing this in like 5 minutes, right? Like I'm giving that prompt, and this AI is starting to write this amazing letter, right? It's now dialing in. I give it a few more updates, and now it's like perfectly dialed in the way I want it, right? And then it like I tell him that, hope I remember at the same time, by the way, we're doing this insurance thing, so let's add that. And towards the end, it adds to thank you for this, like we're now covering you, our parents, yeah, you guys as parents are also covered under our insurance plan, so that we just add that as a footnote towards the end of that letter. So it's really dialed in now. And then finally I say to this guy that, because Urdu is our national language, I didn't know that ChatGPT could do that. I'm like, can you translate it in Urdu? And it writes it out in Urdu for me, and like really really good quality Urdu. And so now we decided that we're going to send the English version and an Urdu version, and we're going to like FedEx it so that it comes in a nice envelope, and and it's going to be beautiful. So that's what's happening with AI right now, man. It's very exciting. The best agency owners that I know are really excited about AI right now. They're doing a lot more. Their people are doing a lot more using AI right now, and they're just learning fast, right? They're just. I think that's the biggest thing right now with AI. your job's not, your job may, yeah, job's not going away, but I think it's going to be taken by people who use AI, right? So you need to really, really know how to use AI. And it's not rocket science, really. The rocket science part, they've done it at Chat GPT and Google. They've been working on it. We'll let them take care of it. We'll just use it, right? And boy, can you use it right now, especially in the marketing world. Like, it's ridiculous the amount of work that you can get done in minutes that took weeks before. You can lay your eyes on. So, that's where it's at. It's a way for you to stand out from the rest of the crowd. You can have that landing page done in 1 hour that may have taken you the whole week to kind of come up with and everything. I can give edit, like I can upload videos for, and have feedback ready for my editor, like next level feedback that dials in my videos a lot better. So I can just go on and on. And these agency owners, they're just crushing it right now, man, with the automations and everything that they're doing. Like, for example, if you go to our Google reviews, the agency we work with, they've just set up a simple chatbot there where an automatic reply comes out. Before it was just a nuisance for me. Like every time, like, hey, why are we falling behind on replying to these reviews? And now it just gets done automatically for us. So yeah, it's and we're just getting started with this stuff, man. Like, I'm just like so excited about this, right? Like, imagining a new employee coming into your into your business, and that employee has a new AI assistant from day one, learning with that assistant and building out with them and keeping them on track. So if it's a sales development rep, then it's got the perfect benchmarks already set up. And if that employee is falling behind, then the AI is there on a daily basis. Hey, you didn't make enough phone calls today. This phone call did not go the way it should have gone, because it's listening to those calls now. It's giving them a daily summary of those calls. That stuff is all possible with today's technology. It's out there already. You just gotta build out those chatbots and sit back and let your people do the work. So yeah, it's intense, man. There's we can go on for hours about this stuff, but yeah, agencies are crushing it. They're the first people. This technology is like really relevant to us. So we're just doing some crazy stuff in this world, and I can't wait to see what happens in the next 1 to 2 years.
In order to take advantage of this wave of AI, you have to look at this through the lens of curiosity. Now, I think that's a really important trait that leaders have to have today, because this is like ignoring the internet, right? Back in the day, it's like the argument of the yellow pages versus Google. It's like somebody's going to be on the right side. And I guarantee it's not the person who's stuck in the past. I was actually listening to a podcast the other day where Mark Zuckerberg came on to this kid, Kane Calloway's podcast, and he was talking about the future of AI. And now Zuckerberg has a little bit of a contrarian view about how AI is going to be used. Now, OpenAI, Microsoft, Google, these guys all have an idea, right? That there's going to be 1, 2, 3, or 4 AI that are going to rule the world. But Zuck has a really big, interesting hunch about there's going to be more AI agents than there are going to be people that are specifically trained, like you said, as personal assistants that are going to be able to do specific tasks. And one of the biggest opportunities that me and Dante often talk about is small businesses, right? If you guys want to be able to compete, how are you going to be able to develop an AI strategy where you can have an AI expert, an AI agent, whatever you want to call it, who can work on your behalf, who can answer phone calls, return text messages, take orders, can do requests for reviews? That's one of the biggest opportunities that I'm really excited about. But it takes that lens, once again, of curiosity to lean into this technology early, because I feel like we are literally seeing the very tip of the iceberg. What's kind of your 2 cents on like the bigger picture of it all?
Um, yeah, I think big picture, it's all good, man. It's coming. You gotta you gotta just be comfortable with it, because I can't wait for my car to drive me around, because I don't like driving from Toronto to Niagara at like 4 a.m. another hour and a half. I much rather spend that time doing something productive, right? Like, and that's what we have to understand with the AI thing. Like, just don't be afraid of it. Trust that people have put in the work. and just leverage the technology and be, like you said, Keenan, that be excited about it. You can't be like afraid of this stuff. I'm sure there's you have to be wary. We're the kind of people who are like, like, just give full one. You have 100% of my trust until you break it. I'm sure there's going to be companies who are going to like massively break it, because it's been happening to us from some of the best known brands that we love and trust. But it is what it is. We're going to cross that bridge, well, when we get there. For right now, though, get excited, start using this stuff inside your business. Don't hold yourself back right now, because everyone can be doing this stuff right now. Like, you should be bringing this in, letting your assistants train, like, even if you're running an HVAC business, right? Like, there's no reason you should be holding yourself back. And I think that's where the biggest losses happen, when we just think that this is just completely out of our scope. This is, when we're not learning regularly. I think that's these misconceptions happen. You just have to just start learning and leveraging a little bit for your own personal side, and you'll see that it's going to help you do stuff that was taken weeks and months to do, is happening in hours and days because of proper AI. So yeah, I think I'm all for it. I think it's going to be all over. I think it's we're going to be, in the next 10 years, our cars are going to be definitely driving us. uh Things are going to change. We're probably, for short flights, we're going to be taking drones instead of airplanes. Especially, like, I see the drone technology in like dense areas. I don't know if you guys know about this cool thing that I learned from Indra Nair. She was the CEO of Pepsi from 2004 until 2018. A very immigrant story like us. She came, she already had her MBA when she came to the States, and just built out a great career. She talks about this thing called megatrends. And so megatrends is basically a summary of like all these amazing minds in the world, when they talk about these massive things that are going to happen in the next 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. That's what's called a mega trend. So you can just go and talk to your GPT, and it's going to tell you the next 10 mega trends. And AI is definitely one of them. Aging population is one of them. So these are the mega trends, right? And those mega trends, if you go and research, like, how often have these mega trends been right, more often than not, they have been right. The megatrends for the last 50 years, for example. So just taking a look at that stuff, and going into the future, you can be comfortable that, hey, this is where it's heading. Am I going to ride the wave, or am I just going to be catching up with it? Right? It's a lot easier to build yourself, even if it's your career. If you're an entrepreneur like us, build your career around those mega trends, leveraging AI, leveraging remote and global workforces. Another megatrend is the population density, right? The world is going to go to 9 billion, and about 70% of that population is going to be in that Asian area, where India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, like, extremely dense popular. Pakistan is fifth largest population in the world, right next to the second largest population. In the north, we have the first largest population. So you can imagine, a 70% population density in that area.
Yeah.
So, it just makes sense for us to leapfrog trying to build these roads and putting more cars. You just leapfrog into third dimension, where, these short flights that you need to take within the cities using drones and things like that. I feel that that's just somebody should be riding that mega trend all the way to uh, autonomous drones and things like that, and that could happen really, really fast.
We saw this already happen in Africa. Me and Dante have talked about this on the podcast. So when you go over to places like Africa, they don't have the infrastructure of like Ethernet, right? Internet being board, cables, fiber optic, or telephone lines. They went straight to cell phones and satellites. So the technology evolution over there is a jump, exactly like you're talking about, without the infrastructure. Imagine that combined with the power of AI to develop these ideas and use these supercomputers to be able to make another jump. I feel like that's really interesting.
Very interesting, man. And I'm really excited about this. Like, hopefully, if I get into a position where I can work with some startups in, like transportational drone technology. Because if you can do it in a part of the world like Pakistan or India, which are like really, really densely populated, and you can do it in a safe way, that technology can be outsourced to anywhere in the world, especially like places like, the Western world where everything is already set up. But it also gives opportunity to leapfrog like tremendously, because in a country like Pakistan, it's really hard to build infrastructure because of the density population, because
Mm.
our economy is not where it needs to be and all of that stuff. It's like it's been a struggle. We've seen that since we were growing up. Like the road infrastructure, we just cannot catch up. So maybe it's time to just leapfrog, right? And AI is going to allow us to do that now, and we're as close as we can get to those things now.
One of my favorite quotes, Keenan, you reminded me of this as you were speaking, is from Michael McClellan. And he says, "We shape our tools, and then our tools turn around and shape us." For example, we discovered fire, 1 million to 1.5 million years ago. And what we see in the fossil records after we discovered fire is man's jaw beginning to shorten. And so there's this idea that we create something, AI, like the internet, we created the internet. And what we saw is our entire social culture has shifted. And so I'm kind of curious as far as like the idea that people may know the tools to use, the chat GPTs, the different AI tools that are coming out. How do we address some of the fear that new leadership or um, I wouldn't say new leadership, but legacy leadership has in starting to adopt some of these new tools that are coming out?
Yeah, I think some of them I can imagine it's going to be tough for them, because like I've been working remotely for the last decade and a half already. But there's people who have been just pushed into this, and we're seeing a lot of government offices and like old school businesses still pushing their employees to go to downtowns and work from their offices and stuff like that. It's like I don't know, they're just trying to hang on to the remnants of what used to be. But I do understand the fear that they have, that how do we like catch up to this stuff. And like the best I can do is I can put myself into their shoes if I was there, especially if I'm I don't know what the keyword is for us, like Gen Zs and all of that stuff. Managing the younger people whose first job is going to be a remote job. They would probably not see a 9 to 5 like we saw growing up and all of that stuff. That's the reality of this situation right now. So you have to really, really adjust to that. Adjust getting comfortable working remotely, being the most productive you can. And because that's the workforce that's coming up, they don't know getting out of the house and taking the bus and running behind the bus like I used to, where I was always behind and running behind the bus because I missed the bus. So these guys are not going to know that feeling anymore, right? So we got to come to terms with that. And I think that's where it's at. Just let go of the fear, dive deep, take a deep dive in. It's not that complicated if we can learn it. Yeah, we're kind of within the industry, so we have a little bit, and we've been working from our homes for a little bit longer in the marketing field, a little bit longer than some of the other folks. But if I was to do it today, this is what I would do. I would just lean into it, and that's kind of what I would, especially growing RepStack. That's kind of been my philosophy, that if something's bothering me, I would just lean into it. It's a sign that you got to address it first. The most difficult things I try to do first thing in the morning and all of that cool stuff. And if something needs to be said, you rest assured that I'm saying that. I don't care how uncomfortable it is. And because I've seen the all the gains that I've had is always been on the other side of uncomfortable. So just lean into it. I think it's not that hard. Give it some time, 2 months, 3 months, your natural leadership style is still going to be around. You can take that remote now. You can do it through a Zoom call now. You still have to be this. The basics are still the same of running a team, that you have to really care for your people. You have to make sure that you have KPIs built out for them. Make sure that you hold them accountable to those KPIs. You make sure you're being a genuine human being, and not be a jerk boss to them. Just the basic stuff, and all of that stuff can be done from the comfort of your home. So just I feel that it's time to lean into this, instead of stopping the way of progress, because this is where the world's headed right now.
From a one man team to a global enterprise with 250 plus team members, I want you to talk a little bit about the importance of painting a big picture for your vision and the things that you're going to accomplish. Because in our last conversation, you had mentioned that you have goals of being close to 1,000 team members within the next couple of years. Let's talk about your big vision and talk about how you're going to be able to attract the top talent to find themselves within your vision, Azhar.
Yeah, so when we got to like 30, 40, 50 people, by people that I was working with, they started talking to me about this, vision and mission and values. I'm like, what is this stuff? Right now, this is something new to me, because I never had think about that stuff. I knew there's going to be a point where we're going to have to focus on that. So after that, the people that I was working with at that time, the closest to me, I just like picked some of my leaders, and then I kind of outsourced it over to them. Hey, this is what we do, and then like, we'll finalize. So we kind of came up with those generic values, a couple of years ago, like integrity and work ethic and all of that stuff. And yeah, we try to do as best we can during our people when we're doing our reviews, our biannual reviews and all of that stuff. But that's where it's just left at this point. But right now I'm at a point where I totally understand that having a buy-in, and just imagine having these people, because like me and my brothers and my core leadership team, when we come into a room, like, we're really 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 excited about what we're doing. And I want to have like all the people who are surrounding in this organization have the same excitement. And I also, me and my brothers, all of us had those jobs. We have we've been around enough to have those jobs where after a long weekend or a vacation, you did not want to go back to work. And I had those bad knots in my stomach, and I hated going to my work. So that's the last place that we want to create for our people. So imagine, like, if you can have a tool where you can bring in people who are thinking like you, who have the same values as that drives me and my brothers and the founding team, and they have the same type of passion, and the same type of things move them forward in their personal lives and their work lives. So if we can bring in only those type of people, then the quality of work just gets, the output gets like tremendous, right? Like, you just like do a lot more with the same amount of people, versus if you were just vague about what you're doing. Is it every man for themselves and things like that? It's not going to work out. um, an example that I want to point out is, if you guys seen the movie Oppenheimer, like, what they did at that time was that they took the best of the best scientists from around the US and the world, and they put them in one place. And these guys were all driven by one mission. And they picked up and took over their families, and just moved and relocated to be in this one place for this one mission. And they ended up doing it, which was like almost like an impossibility. And that's kind of the what a mission and a vision and values can do for you. It's like it's single most important thing for an organization. And I've been reading Jim Collins a lot, from Good to Great, and his book, Beyond Entrepreneurship, which is basically like, once you have your business going, you want to turn it into a business that's going to last for, in my case, it should be generations. How do we do that? And one of the things you're going to be doing that is through creating a vision document. And your vision is comprised of your values. It's comprised of your purpose, which is your north star, and then it has a mission in it, and that's your vision. So it's three things: values, purpose, and mission. And values is set of those driving principles. Like, I'm kind of shortlisting right now between day one mindset, purpose driven learning, ownership of work, and passionate giving. So like, we're like, you just brought up the gift giving part and stuff like that. Like, we're really into the gift giving thing. And that kind of comes from our parents and our upbringing, and we've kind of brought it inside the organization as well. The purpose driven learning, you guys know, that's part of like how we got all our breakthroughs. We want to give that to the organization, so we're in a perpetual state of learning at all times, and just breakthroughs after breakthroughs. Day one mindset is like really important. From I learned this from Amazon's day one mindset. I don't know if you guys have checked out Bezos' letters. I highly recommend it. And one of the things that sets Amazon apart from everyone else is that they instill day one mindset, which is really built around calculated risk taking. Like, they're like really enforce this, that you gotta do this. And you think still it's day one. As soon as you think that it's not day one, then you fall into a, hey, let's take this 2 weeks to do this thing, like we'll do it as a quarterly rock. And we're foreseeing ourselves doing that. That's why I was thinking maybe an entrepreneurial mindset, but for us, I think that day one mindset really really works out. And the ownership of work, I really draw inspiration from Jocko Willing's work on extreme ownership and dichotomy of leadership, on how he talks about taking ownership of your work and things like that. So now the values that we have, and the vision and the mission that we have, is a lot more aligned to who we really are as an organization. This is a time consuming process, going to take time. For smaller companies, it might not be as important. For companies that are going to scale, especially like you said, that our goal is to get to 1,000 employees over the next 2 years. And we want to get beyond 10,000 people, and I think we can do that. But right now, just over the next 2 years, we want to multiply our workforce by four. And for us, having these the mission, which is going to be, which is, what's your next mountain that you're climbing. For us, it's going to be to get to 10 million annual revenue, with 500 to 1,000 people. And yeah, so looks like it's going to be, we're definitely on track to doing that. We're already across the 4 million annual revenue mark, so we're moving in the right direction. But these things being there is really important. And as a leader, now as you start growing your business, it becomes really important that all the people are being evaluated on those values. There's your HR team is hiring on those values. And then the teams are coming around that purpose of, our purpose is to level the playing field for marketing associates. That needs to be redefined a little bit, but right now that's what we're working with. And then our mission is going to be, really, the mission is usually about 10 years long. So I just gave you the short term vision. The long term vision is going to be, definitely get to $100 million annual revenues, with maybe between 5,000 and 7,000 workforce. I'm not sure where those numbers are going to land, but I think like we're going to settle for like a revenue target for the next 10 years, and see if we can hit that $100 million mark over the next 10 years. So yeah, so I feel that extremely incredible, and thank you for asking me that question, because I told you that our main event for the company is coming up, and I'm going to be unveiling our new vision statement for the entire company. And talking to you guys has given me an opportunity to kind of clean that up a little bit and all of that stuff. And I'll take the AI back from this and take it back to my team and brush up on our vision statement a little bit more after this call.
Love so much about what you said. I'm kind of curious on how you feel implementing some of these things as far as clarity. So clarifying your mission, your vision, and where you guys are going and painting this picture for your team. We talked about how it affects your team internally. I'm curious how you think it affects other people viewing you and your company. So how it allows you guys to attract better clients and bigger clients as well.
Hmm. Yeah, that's a good perspective. I really haven't thought of it like that. But I feel that, when you're using a set of values and a purpose to drive a whole bunch of people together, just their output's going to be, it's going to be very different than the normal teams that exist out there. Like, you cannot compete with passion. You cannot compete with a person who wants to get up at 4 a.m. Like right now, I have friends who are like world class marathoners, and because I'm hanging out with them, I'm just like getting workouts in just by knowing the right type of people. These guys are like, you cannot compete with that type of person who's like up at 4:30 in the morning. They're gonna go train 15 kilometer is an easy run for them, and that's the workout that they're doing. I just think like the naming convention, you should just look into that. They're just fooling no one, because they're like, I'm gonna do a easy 20K today. It's nothing easy about doing a 20K, but but just, yeah, just bringing in a set of people who are mission driven, I feel, is, your output is going to be tremendous with that type of people. And it's doable, and the worst people that had to do it, again, I'll refer back to Jim Collins' book Beyond Entrepreneur. He talks about an example of a, I forgot the name of the general he was leading in, and he talks about that sometimes, yeah, you can bring, like, I have control of bringing in the right type of people to put out the right type of work that the world can see, and then in turn they become more attracted to us because we do such great quality work. But what happens when your workforce is, they don't even want to be there? Like, how do you lead then? And then he gives an example of this general during the Vietnam War, where most of the US, a lot of the US Army was draft picks, and these were the guys who were against war. And now they're in this situation where they're having to lead to this leader. How do you lead then, right? Like, I have the option of not bringing these people in, but this general did not have that option. He had to work with the workforce he was dealt with, who do not want to be there, who are probably, if they're coming from California or any of these liberal states, and even like from what I hear from majority of the part of America, the young people were against the war at that time, and they're working with this workforce. And the answer, and he was fairly successful with how he really managed his forces. And his answer was that, he's like, I love everyone who works for me, right? So his thing was that he really really leaned into these people. He put himself in their shoes and kind of did what he could by just giving these people everything that he had. And that's how you lead, man. I think leading with passion, being there, shows in your people, that shows in your work, and then that shows to the rest of the world, and that's what's going to attract people coming into your company. I think I haven't thought more about it besides this, I think.
One of the things that we just want to say for everybody who's watching and listening today is ours. Thank you for articulating the vision for what you're doing. The fact that you have put so many people in positions to create lives for themselves, opportunities that are beyond thought, comes back to that young guy who was renting that suit from Ross or wherever it was, right, in Washington, D.C., and playing it
Yeah.
cool after, to think about how far you've come is an incredible journey, man. And it's been a blessing to be able to share this space with you. The one thing that we like to do in a tradition here on the podcast is connecting our last guest with our previous guest. And now our last guest wanted to ask you the question, why do you love what you do? And if you could do something different, what would it be?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. Why do I love what I do? Man, that's a really loaded question. I think the quick answer would be that going back to my university yearbook, and I wrote there like very, I don't know in which state of mind I was, and everybody was giving their quotes, and I mentioned I want to be remembered. And that just, back then I don't know what the meaning for me was, but I just kept going back to that word throughout my life. And now more than ever, that is making more and more sense to me. And I've always, when I was sharing my room with my brother growing up, on the window I used to kind of create this map of the world, and and thinking about total world dominance and all of that cool stuff that the kids do. But my thing has been that I always wanted to build something big, something that can outlast me, something, and this is also like, it also has a spiritual connection to me, like, with the beliefs that we have. I want to kind of leave a tree planted after me that just continues to give. And, building a big organization that can last 100 years after I'm gone is, kind of, like, if I can be on that path, and like with RepStack I can finally see a pathway that, like, hopefully if I get an opportunity and if I don't mess it up, we can maybe make that happen. So yeah, so that's kind of like the ultimate vision. Like, we want to create an opportunity, a self-sustaining thing that can, it's almost like a tree that just continues to give while I'm around, and hopefully even after I'm gone. So that's kind of why I love doing this, because it gives me that clear path that, hey, this is now finally possible. What was the second part of that question? And if I had
If
to
you
change
could,
something?
no, if you could do something different, what would it be?
Yeah, I think that's something that I would not change, because there's so many different things. Yeah, we can go, hindsight is 100%, but uh, I think, like, for you to get to a particular point, you're gonna have to go through those things. Like, had I not messed up like really bad, or like did everything that I did throughout my journey, I would not have been where I am right now. Losing those clients in my agency days, closing those last minute deals, and just hustling and buying out my partner one, partner two, and sometimes barely making enough money. And everything was just a stepping stone. So, yeah, as long as I think, like, it's, you're moving in that right direction. I don't know if you guys are aware that the flight paths that they have for airplanes are constantly adjusting. They need to go from point A to point B, but it's not going in a straight line. Every millisecond they're just adjusting themselves. And I think that's what we're doing. And sometimes it's going to be like a, that shock that you're gonna, maybe the passengers are gonna hit the cabin above them when it's really turbulent. But we're gonna get there, and I think that's part of the journey. So I would probably, there's not much that I can look back into that is not adding value to where I am right now. And if that's true, then I want to just continue, like the mess ups that we have, just continue to learn from them and just keep growing from them.
No regrets, baby. That's how we'll end it today, man. Azhar, man, thank you once
Yeah.
again for myself and Dante and everybody
And
else
then
who's
really,
tuning into the All
really, really
Innovation. Go ahead.
quick, the his question for our future guest.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
I have this question that I want you guys to ask, and this question is that I would really like to know, what are the key strategies for a healthy remote organization? What are some, like, we're doing the best we can, man. Trust me, like, it's new to us, right? Like building out a group of people completely remote, but keeping them healthy, right? Like in a remote first environment. This is new to the world right now. So I want to see, like, learn from your next guest that what are some strategies that these people are using out there right now to keep their workforces not just motivated and mission driven, but also really, really healthy in this new work environment. So it'd be great to know the answer to that question.
There we go. That's the podcast. Thanks again. Really appreciate it. That's a wrap.